Two Italian Cane Corso dogs, each weighing 95 kilos, spent 500 days in a shelter. 50 families came to visit them, but they all turned them down. Too big, too intimidating, just too much. Then a woman signed the papers. And 4 months later, at 4:15 a.m., what happened in her home proved that every one of those 50 families had been wrong and had made a mistake. Claire Whitmore was 25 years old, recently divorced, and living in a house that felt as though it had been built for silence. She had a steady job as a veterinary technician, a large garden she never used, and a sense of emptiness that followed her from room to room. She didn't need rescuing. At least, that's what she told herself every morning at 6:15 a.m., sitting alone at the four-seater kitchen table drinking her coffee. One Tuesday afternoon in November, Claire stopped by the Greenfield Rescue Center on her way home from work. He was so lonely and bored that he told himself he had come to check on the injured beagle he'd looked after a week earlier. But as soon as he passed by kennel number 14, he stopped. Two imposing dogs sat side by side, leaning against one another, as if they were a single entity. The first was coal black, weighed 95 kilos, had a square head, and eyes that seemed to hide something deep within. The second was leaden brown, 96 kilos, with a deeply furrowed face and skin that hung like velvet. These Cane Corsos, bred for centuries to guard America's villages and farms, had been left at the shelter because their previous owners had moved to the city center. They had been at the shelter for 500 days. During that time, 50 families had come to visit them. All attempts had been in vain. Too big, too expensive, too bold, too much. A woman named Diane, the shelter manager, told Claire the truth. They eat a total of 5.8 kilos of food a week. The vet bills alone would cost more than your car insurance. And no one wants two dogs that big. We tried to separate them, but Luna refused to eat and Tony's voice went hoarse from howling all night. They were one, and that one weighed 195 kilos. Claire looked at Tony. Luna looked at Claire. Then she did something no one at the shelter had ever seen before. She rested her heavy head against the bars of the cage and let out a single, faint whimper. Not a bark, not a growl, just a breath that said, "Please." Claire signed the adoption papers 35 minutes later. The first 72 hours were complete chaos. Within 9 seconds of entering the house, Tony knocked over the coat rack. Luna leaned against the corner of the sofa set, and the sofa creaked as it broke. Together, they weighed more than Claire's fridge. On the first night, Claire laid out cushions for them to sleep on the floor. Special large breed orthopedic mats. By 2 a.m., both mats were empty. Claire found Luna sprawled across the entire sofa, her legs dangling over both sides, snoring like a faulty generator. Tony was lying on Claire's bed, taking up exactly 2/3 of the single bed. He had left Claire a 35-centimeter strip at the edge. Claire tried to move Tony. Luna opened one eye to look at Claire, and then closed it again. The negotiations were over. By the end of the first week, Claire had lost her armchair, her bed, her favorite corner chair, and the right to eat her evening meal in peace under the gaze of a 95-kilo dog. Tony possessed a unique talent for drooling the moment Claire lifted her fork. The pool that gathered beneath his chin was almost the size of a plate. At every meal. But here's what nobody ever tells you. Behind those broad foreheads and deeply lined faces lies an intelligence capable of reading a person's soul at a glance. Tony and Luna had been watching Claire from the moment she stood in front of cabin number 14. 3 weeks later, Claire had a terrible day. A botched procedure at the clinic had gone badly wrong. She had lost a 7-year-old golden retriever. She came home, left her keys on the worktop, collapsed onto the kitchen table, and wept. Tony slipped quietly inside first. He didn't run. He didn't bark. He lowered his 95-kilo body to the floor and rested his head on Claire's shoulder. Then Luna came. She snuggled up to Claire's other side, wrapping her 96-kilo body around her like a shield of warmth. Claire was asleep on the kitchen floor at 7:43 p.m. on Wednesday evening, sandwiched between two 195-kilo dogs. And for the first time in exactly 15 months, there was life in the house. You're still watching but haven't subscribed yet. That really upsets me.
Subscribe.
Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. From that night onwards, a routine was established. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., Luna would walk up to Claire's door and tap it with her nose. She didn't bark, she tapped. A strong, determined, impatient rhythm, as if it would shake the entire corridor. This was her alarm clock. Tonini, however, had his own unique method. He would take Claire's left slipper, only the left one, without touching the right, carry it to the kitchen, and place it next to the food bowl. The message was clear. While I'm having my breakfast, you sort out your shoe. One Friday night in February, for months after she'd been adopted, Claire was startled awake at 4:15 a.m. by Luna's bark. This wasn't the deep, drowsy bark she was used to. It was a sharp, insistent bark, repeated ceaselessly as if every second mattered. She went downstairs and found him at the kitchen door, waiting with the garden gate locked. Toni was right beside him. His fur was bristling, and the growl rising from his throat was low but threatening. Claire switched on the garden lights. A man was about to jump over the back fence. He froze when the light hit his face. Then he saw it. Luna, weighing 95 kilos, teeth bared, eyes fixed on him, standing as still as granite. The man didn't climb over the fence. He tumbled over it. He fled in such a panic that one of his shoes was left on the other side of the fence. They discovered that the house had been burgled that very night. Claire's house was the only one that had been left untouched. The same 2 dogs that 50 families had turned away. The same 195-kilo bundle of joy. They were the ones who ensured Claire slept peacefully that night, and every night since. Today, Luna is 5 and Toni is 4. They still occupy the sofa. Luna still taps on the door at 6:15 every morning. Toni still holds Claire's left slipper hostage until breakfast. The drool stain in the kitchen has become an element that Claire now considers an integral part of her home decor. Claire no longer eats alone. She no longer returns to a silent home. She returns home to 195 kilos of loyalty, drool, missing slippers, and a huge amount of love that barely fits through the door. When a dog barks or acts anxious, there is always a reason. Don't dismiss it. Listen to them. They possess senses we have long since lost. This is their world. Show it respect. Trust them. If you're thinking of adopting, learn first, prepare well, and understand that the dogs everyone calls too much are often exactly what's missing. Because Claire didn't save Toni and Luna, they saved Claire. Would you give a chance to 295-kilo Cane Corsos rejected by 50 families? Let me know in the comments.